Hello everyone and welcome to the Redgrassgame YouTube channel. I'm Wardrock, French professional miniature painter, and today I will explain to you how I use a white palette on a daily basis. In this video I will use a simple technique allowing beginners as well as confirmed to have a very correct rendering in less than 15 minutes for a tabletop miniature. We meet right away for a presentation of the material. Let's go! A white palette is made up of several essential elements. The first is a container with rims, so that it can hold a small amount of water. You will also need a cover to be able to keep good humidity for several days. Next, you need an absorbent sponge to spread the humidity, as well as a porous paper like baking paper. To set it up, just place the sponge in the box and then put a thin layer of water. Then we just put the absorbent paper on it and remove the air bubbles. The first advantage of a white palette when you begin is that it allows you to have a wet and dilute paint right out of the pot. Thinning paint makes it possible to apply thin layer and smooth out gradient more easily. You can see very clearly on my finger that the paint is transparent. In this example, I don't add water in my paint. Here, this is a small comparison between the paint taken out of a pot on a dry palette and the paint taken out of a pot on a wet palette. The risk, if we do not dilute the paint on a dry palette, is to block the small details of the figurine and create a texture. On a wet palette, the paint is more fluid. I always personally add a little water to get an even thinner paint. The example on the left is for me better because you can see the base layer in transparency. For dilution, I add a little amount of water in my paint. So the example on the left is for me the right consistency of the paint. Little transparency and you keep the control on the paint. On the right is it's not transparency, it's not very dilute. It's not a good dilution. Another big advantage of the white palette being able to create gradation directly on the palette, and thus have an intermediate shade by having only a very few colors. See even that the primary colors. With this you can create your own colors. Here I mix pink and purple to get a gradient between these two colors. On a white palette, this mixture will remain usable for several days. I will now apply the paint onto the figurine, taking it in different places to vary the colors used between light and shadow. On the white palette, it is also possible to create a more complex gradation with more shade, like here with several shades of blue. With a small amount I can create a gradient that I will keep for several days. On a dry palette, the paint being dilute, it dries very quickly. Now let's move on to painting technique on Claustrophobia's miniature from Monolith. I start by putting my 3 shades on my palette, and I always start by placing my shadow with the dark shade, here purple. The paint is very fine, which will favor working in successive layers, and thus improve the blend of transition. I accelerate this part for you can see all the painting process to placing shadows. On the shadow are placed, I will use an intermediate shade of pink to base the part between light and shade. It's intermediate color. It's the same process for the shadow, but I concentrate my brush only on the intermediate parts. With these two steps, we already have a global idea of what the miniature will look like. Another technique facilitated by the white palette is white blending. With my 3 very white shades, I will base my miniature by creating the mixture directly on the miniature. Thus the transitions are visible immediately and the saving of painting time is enormous. Here I'm doing this step with 3 colors, but we can do it with a lot more colors. I don't wait my paint dry, and I mix all the colors directly on the miniature before the colors dries. I then put my pale pink on the brightest areas. For the last highlight, I make a small brush movement on the transition area to blend the gradient. You can see my paint is not dry on my white palette, and if I come again on this in 2 or 3 days, the paint is not dry and I can continue my miniature. After a little stop. So now I will then apply ink to the entire miniature so that the relief stands out and the reading of the miniature is improved. I use another paint, old brush. Do not destroy my new brush, my painting brush. Do not forget to come and absorb the excedent with a slightly damp brush to avoid stains. Here is the result when the ink is dry. The miniature is finished in less than 10 minutes and my colors are still usable to make the other miniature of the game box. This video is finished. I hope you like it. The white palette is really a tool that I could not do without as a painter. It can be homemade, but the one shown in this video is that of Redgrassgame. I prefer a professional model simply for the quality of material and to have optimal hydration of my paint. If you want the same white palette, you will find a link in the description of this video. Don't forget to follow the channel and see you soon. Goodbye!